It is now 8:30. Good morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Also streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. I'm your host this morning, Colin Worthington. You heard before the show started the commercial about all the voting laws being put into effect or being discussed up at Capitol Hill. Tomorrow morning, our guest on the Community Voice will be Senate Majority Leader Mike Dugan. We'll talk all about that for that half hour, so hope you'll tune in for that program tomorrow morning at 8:30. This morning's program, I believe, will be interesting and inspirational for all of you listening, not just those of you interested in politics or something else. This morning's program, it's a story of faith, family, and science. One of my guests this morning has a new heart, and I'm not talking about like the Grinch having changed his, getting a new heart or changing his change of heart. 30-year-old Lucas Wysner actually has a heart beating inside of him, a heart that was not inside of him when he was born. It was a heart that was actually keeping somebody else alive since their birth before something had happened in his or her life. We can talk about that as well. But a hard, thoughtful decision was made to keep that heart beating, but inside of someone else. Again, in that person is Lucas Wysner. He's our guest this morning. He and his sister, Carrie McElroy, they're both in Ranburne, and we're going to talk all about their story this morning. Good morning to both of you.
How's it going?
Well, it's going great, and I do appreciate you guys being willing to talk about this. I mean, it's a fascinating story, and it's inspirational. And again, as I mentioned, you and your family had faith, a lot of faith throughout this whole thing. I'm sure there were some tougher times before you guys got through this officially in December. And we'll get up to this point. I may ask Carrie to talk first because, I mean, I'd like to relive the story. I mean, as a family member, watching your brother going through this and, get us up to the point where you were, I think when you were 15 years old is when you had this diagnosis that, there was a sign that there was some heart issues. Can you guys, one of you, take us up to that point? How life was before then and when you discovered and how you discovered.
Well, life was normal up until he had his first episode. I mean, he played ball. He was a normal 14-year-old. I mean, he was very active, just normal. And then one day he walked the trash down and he came in the living room and fell dead in our floor. I mean, I'm married, so I lived next door, and they called me and said Luke had collapsed, and we went down there, and he was just, Daddy was doing CPR on him. It was really, we didn't know he was going to make it. Mm-hmm. But I'll let Luke finish his story.
What was that, as far as him collapsing? Now, was that 6 years ago, or is that when he was 14 years old?
That's when he was 14. That was August 18th, 2005. 2005,
okay. And your father, Tony, he works for Southwire. And he told me he was supposed to be in like Starksville, Mississippi that day, and then work plans had changed. And honestly, if he wasn't at home that day, because he performed CPR, and if he wasn't there to do that, it could be a different story.
Lucas always tells us that when he saw Daddy doing CPR on him, he said he could see himself laying in the floor and Daddy doing CPR on his body, and he said that he always felt like somebody was with him, but he didn't ever see anybody, but he could feel the presence of Jesus with him. So he knew he was going to be okay.
Were you guys always spiritual people?
Lucas, we've always been spiritual, but, sometimes things just happen and you're not as close as you'd like to be. And sometimes something like this really brings you closer.
Absolutely.
But we've always been spiritual, but this has really just brought us closer to the Lord.
Well, I guess after that incident, Lucas was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And what exactly is that?
It means that my ventricular septum is enlarged. The average ventricular septum of a human is, 6 millimeters wide, and mine was 9.
No, it was supposed to be 9. Luke's was 29.
Oh.
So it's 3%, 3 times the size of what it's supposed to be, more than 3 times the size. When you're 14 years old and you guys are diagnosed with this, what was the family's initial thought? What were you all feeling to hear this? Was it worrisome, or is it something that you just initially thought, okay, we'll get some medication, or we'll just do some things to take care of this?
Well, when we first found out, we were we were shocked because we just really didn't understand everything. But they told us we'd get this ICD and we would come home and we'd have a normal life, and we'd have the ICD if it ever happened again. And we didn't realize we were going to need that ICD so many times. And
we're glad we got it.
We're glad we had it. We're thankful to have it gone. They really just slapped us on the back and wished us good luck, is what we always tease about. There really is no answers, and there's no cure, and there's really nothing for HCM, and that's really sad. There really should be more that they could do for it, but there's not. And HCM is also known as sudden death syndrome. All the athletes that fall dead on the football field, more than likely they die of HCM. It's just not known because they don't do echoes on children before they play sports.
Mm-hmm. Well, the next 15 years were not easy either. If memory serves me correctly, the notes I took this morning, 33 cardiac arrests, 4 implantable defibrillators, and then, of course, years of hospital and doctor visits. Talk about your, I guess, your confidence and your faith over that 15-year period. I mean, there had to be ups and downs. And both
there were some, but truly God got me through it, because every time that I had an episode, I was without a pulse for a limited time. And so that just goes to show the devil tried to take me out, but wasn't able to.
Did this feel like it was routine, going to the doctor and everything for 15 years? I mean, when you had an incident, when you had a cardiac arrest, I mean, did you know, well, that's not going to be the last one? Or did you believe, okay, that'll be the last one, we'll figure it out this time? What were you feeling during that period?
Well, when I first got diagnosed, they said the older you get, they'll slow down. But then we found out last year that the older you get, the more they amp up. So it's constantly changing about the knowledge of HCM. So we were expecting, just get me to 26 or 30, and it will ease off. But then when I got in that range, it amped up.
Did you change your lifestyle in that 15 years? I mean, were you still able to be very active? Did you believe you could do things and, drink coffee and, something as simple as that, exercise? Were you able to still do things like that for 15 years?
Not for the entire 15. For the first 5 or 6, I was still able to play, like backyard football or basketball with my friends. But then it amped up. If I walked too far, I would have an episode. So for about 5, 6 years, I was able to, be a kid and teenager and do whatever without fear. And then when I got around 17, they started to hit me a little more common or a little more frequently. And then as I got 21 and up, they just, anytime I get stressed, like about the final at college, I remember there was one time I was going to take my physics final at West Georgia, and I had an episode crossing the road. Then I got up and went and took the final because I didn't want to have to restudy for it, and then told my parents afterwards.
Wow. Were you just so used to those episodes? I mean, you just knew what was going to come next. You knew you'd be okay? Because I would imagine that if I had one of those episodes, I'm seeking the hospital pretty quick.
Well, for me, when I got shocked by that much electricity from the ICD, I was amped up. I had the most energy and was, good to go.
Well, in those days, when he first started having a bunch of episodes, his ICD did its job because his heart wasn't as damaged. It would get him back immediately. He was probably out maybe 5 seconds, and then he would be back to Lucas. I mean, he would be back to cutting jokes and, telling us he was okay and stuff. And the doctors told us when he got an episode and the ICD worked, there was no need to go to the hospital because the ICD had done its job.
Well, up until last year, I believe you guys felt like you were just going to continue doing things like this. But up until last year, the doctors notified you in some way that we can't do anything anymore. We need a new heart. Is that right?
Yeah. December 2019 is really when our life changed. Lucas went to a thing at our preacher's house, and he climbed a set of stairs, and he came upstairs, and he fell dead in their kitchen, and he got shocked 7 times. Was it 7? It was 7. He got shocked 7 times by his ICD, and we knew then we had a big problem because it was no longer doing its job. Mm-hmm. So in January of 2020, he got a new ICD that was supposed to hopefully not shock us 7 times. And he just had a rough year in 2020. 2020 was really our changing point. So it's just, we're grateful. We've learned a lot.
And we're happy.
Absolutely. And I know this. I mean, thinking about your parents. I mean, talking with your father. He's proud, and he just talks about you being positive throughout this whole thing and how your faith has carried you through this. What do you know about how your parents felt during that 15-year period? How much did they show you their concern? I'm a father. My son was born with a physical issue that he still carries to this day. It's nothing nearly as close to yours. He's going to be fine. He's still going to go on and conquer the world. We're not worried about that. But I'll tell you, every single day I worry about that and just worry about him and how it could affect his life. How much do you guys know about, or what can you say about the way your parents carried themselves and how much concern they actually showed to you during this period?
Oh, the folks were strong. They didn't show me much worry or anything. They showed concern during an event, but as far as me just up and doing stuff, Mom was the most noticeable to have concerns. Dad wasn't, because he can hide stuff better.
I think the dad's role was always to be the tough one.
Sure.
Yeah, the strong guy.
And I think on Facebook now, it's obvious how much your mom is probably the one to post to Facebook over the last year or so. I mean, every bit of news that she had over the last year, she's posted it and shared it with people, and shown her excitement and concern. This morning, we're speaking with a couple of Lucas Wysner and his sister Carrie McElroy. They're in Ranburne. Lucas received a new heart last year, and we're talking about what got him to that point. We're going to talk about that month leading into the surgery, into that transplant in December, and how he was greeted when he got home by his community. We'll do that after our first break. Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
Travel, get-togethers, Sunday morning worship. COVID-19 has almost put a stop to our way of life. Vaccination is our best shot at getting back to normal. The COVID-19 vaccine is based on more than a decade of research. Trials show it's safe and can provide up to 95% protection when you've received both doses. Tanner is committed to making the vaccine as widely available as possible, giving you a shot at getting back to life. Until then, keep wearing your mask, washing your hands, and avoid gatherings. Learn more and get updates at tanner.org/vaccine.
Oak Mountain Academy would like to invite you to join us for our 33rd annual Spring Gala. This live virtual event will be held on Saturday, March 20th, beginning at 6 p.m. Professional superstar auctioneer Seth Wysner will be our host for the evening. Seth will guide us through the live and silent auction portions of the evening and facilitate a variety of games where the winners take home prizes. If you love a good scavenger hunt, think you can name that tune, or are a bingo champion, you won't want to miss this free event. Register today at oakmountain.us for a virtual evening of fun, games, and entertainment.
Time right now is 8:44. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. Also streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. I'm your host this morning, Colin Worthington. My guests are in Ranburne this morning. We're talking to them over the phone, Lucas Wysner and his sister, Carrie McElroy. Lucas was diagnosed more than 15 years ago with a disease which, in a normally thick heart muscle, makes it more difficult for his heart to pump blood. After going through 33 cardiac arrests, 4 implantable defibrillators, and years of hospital and doctor visits. At the end of last year, he got a new heart. Well, it wasn't last year. It was 2019, right? It was 2019 that he... No, it was at the end of last year, wasn't it? Was it into 2020, or was it into 2019?
He got the heart in 2020.
2020. Okay, yeah, last year is just a blur, isn't it? It's just, as far as the COVID stuff. But, yeah, 2020 finally got a new heart. I guess lead us up to that, because you didn't know. I mean, you find out one day you are going to get a new heart, and then it happens pretty quick. It's not like you have a week to prepare or a month to prepare. You find out you're getting that heart, and I'm sure it was a whirlwind. Can you talk about that, Lucas?
Yes, sir. And that whole thing started on October 27th, because it was my 33rd episode, and I was taking the mail down to the mailbox, and as I started to walk back, I felt my heart kind of acting funky. So I called my sister. That's just what I do. When I get nervous, I call somebody to get my mind off of it. And I was calling her, and what I said to her, I do not know, but I made it back to my house, unconscious, and had my 33rd episode at my house. Carrie come to the house and found me laying on the couch, called the ambulance, and they took me to Tanner Medical Center in Carrollton. I stayed there 2.5 days. Then I got transferred to Emory in Atlanta on October 30th. And then I stayed there until December.
We got the call December 16th.
Was when we got the notice of the heart. And that time in the hospital was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. I know that's weird to hear that someone enjoys the hospital, but I mean, I was just living life.
He read his Bible every day like he does at home. He listened to his music, and that's really what keeps Luke going. If you know Lucas, you know he's got that Christian music going on his phone. It runs his battery dead as soon as he gets up, because it's all he does. But he really stayed positive in the hospital. We kept calling him. He FaceTime us, and we're really grateful for FaceTime.
Yeah.
But his nurses, one day his nurse came in the room, and she didn't even have Lucas that day. And she came in there, and Debbie said, "Is something wrong?" And she says, "No, I just need to get my Jesus feel for the day." Because she said Lucas had such a spirit about him. You could just feel Jesus in the room with him. So he really did keep his faith. But as far as the transplant, when we got the news, Luke called me the day that he got the news, and he said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" I said, "Are you fixing to tell me we're going to get a heart?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, praise Jesus." And he said, "Oh, yes, praise him." But he was very excited. He was never nervous. I mean, he was fixing to go through this major surgery, and all he could see was the new life he was fixing to get.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about it. You have somebody else's heart, a heart that was born in another body and grew in another body, and it's in your body right now. I mean, is that mind? I mean, obviously, it is mind blowing for us all to think about that and think about how that can possibly happen. But I mean, do you feel like there is another soul there on your shoulder? Do you feel like you have this connection to a different family and another history that maybe you weren't fully aware of?
Not so much. I mean, I'm thankful for the persons whose heart I have, but God gave it to me, and it's just a blessing.
And I'm guessing.
So I really don't think much about having someone else's heart in my body, because it's now mine, and that's how I see it. I'm not taking something from somebody, but I'm just accepting what is now given to me. And God gave me a new heart, just like he says he will in Scripture. And so I'm thankful, and I praise God every day for my life.
Lucas Wysner and his sister Carrie McElroy, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. We're talking with Lucas and his sister because Lucas has a new heart. That happened in December of last year, after 15 years of dealing with issues with his own heart. He did receive a heart transplant in December of last year. After the actual surgery, you did have to wait a little bit to find out if it would be 100% accepted in your body. How about that experience?
That wasn't really that concerning to me, because I trusted God, and I had full confidence that he would not give me a gift that was bad or that I wouldn't take. So as I laid there, hooked to the pumps and all the machines, I was just thankful to be breathing, honestly. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I felt no fear, no regret, nothing. I was just happy.
Well, as far as the rejection and being scared and stuff, it is scary for us. I mean, I know we have faith that, he's going to be great, but, I mean, Lucas, how many pills a day do you have to take?
30.
He takes 30 pills a day to keep his heart going and keep his body from rejecting. I mean, 30 pills a day. He takes pills 5 times a day.
And that's still ongoing. That wasn't shortly after the transplant. That's still now, right?
It's now, yes. It's shortly after the transplant.
Oh, it's like 50.
He was in the hospital. How many days? 10? 10 days after transplant?
Yeah, I got out before New Year's.
Yeah, he was in the hospital only 10 days after transplant, and they did one biopsy while he was in there. And but he had four drainage tubes.
Yeah, there was 3 belly tubes, I think. Let me check my scars here.
He had so many tubes and wires
4.
coming out of him. It was scary to see them because we couldn't be with him after transplant because of COVID. He had to do all of this alone. He's not even, we forget to even include that. I mean, he went through a heart transplant without any of us being there. I mean, we didn't even get to see him after he got his heart transplant. We didn't see Lucas or even speak to Lucas until the 18th.
After talking to Lucas, it's pretty clear he didn't think he was alone in that room.
No, I was not alone. God was with me every step of the way.
Before I take my final break here, guys, I wanted to, Carrie, you'd mentioned getting that phone call to learn that Lucas had received a heart. I imagine over the last 15 years or the last 10 years or so, when you saw his name pop up on your phone, it wasn't, you weren't as excited. I mean, I'm glad to talk to your brother, but I'm sure every phone call that you were getting, had to be a little bit concerned, considering he did call you that one day, the last day before he finally did go to check into the hospital for a while.
Oh, yeah, we always tease him that every time the phone rings and it's him, we all have PTSD and saying, oh, God, it's happening again or something is going wrong. But, no, to get that call, we were so excited. Even my little boy was in the back seat, and he says, oh, thank God, Luke's going to get a new life. And, it really, that phone call changed, I guess, everybody.
Well, I'm going to take my final break here. I'll come back and we'll talk about Lucas's new life. Time right now is 8:52. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
Travel, get-togethers, Sunday morning worship. COVID-19 has almost put a stop to our way of life. Vaccination is our best shot at getting back to normal. The COVID-19 vaccine is based on more than a decade of research. Trials show it's safe and can provide up to 95% protection when you've received both doses. Tanner is committed to making the vaccine as widely available as possible, giving you a shot at getting back to life. Until then, keep wearing your mask, washing your hands, and avoid gatherings. Learn more and get updates at tanner.org/vaccine.
Oak Mountain Academy would like to invite you to join us for our 33rd Annual Spring Gala. This live virtual event will be held on Saturday, March 20th, beginning at 6 p.m. Professional superstar auctioneer Seth Wysner will be our host for the evening. Seth will guide us through the live and silent auction portions of the evening and facilitate a variety of games where the winners take home prizes. If you love a good scavenger hunt, think you can name that tune, or are a bingo champion, you won't want to miss this free event. Register today at oakmountain.us for a virtual evening of fun, games, and entertainment.
All right, 8:53. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. I'm your host this morning, Colin Worthington. My guests, Lucas Wysner, his sister, Carrie McElroy, there in Ranburne. Lucas received a new heart. I just even saying that is amazing. He's hope you heard the first couple segments of our program. If you did not, the entire show will be available on our website at newstalk1330.com once this is over, and I do encourage you to go back and listen to it. Right now, we're at the point we're going back to January, I believe, of this year when Lucas got to go home. His mother really did a good job on Facebook keeping people updated, keeping the community interested in what all was going on with this family. And I believe when you got to go home in January, you had a nice greeting, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what happened when
I got
home?
out of the hospital and got to the apartment in Atlanta, my family was there, and I finally got to see them after, 6 weeks of not being able to?
It was longer than that, but yeah.
So that was nice.
Well, the church and stuff. And
this is when you got back to Ranburne, right?
Yes. We put yellow bows out and all that stuff to welcome him home when he brought home. And the church had a really big welcome home banner sign made for him, and they had it hung up. And everybody really was excited. Even our neighbors put bows on their mailbox to welcome him home. And everybody was just excited to have him back because they all seen him leaving the ambulance, and they all know what he's been through. So it was really nice to have everybody come together to welcome him home.
And the family as a whole. I mean, obviously what Lucas went through was huge. I mean, but the family has gone through a lot as well.
Oh, yes.
Time right now is 8:55. Lucas, you got about 3.5 minutes here. What are your plans? What are your limitations at this point?
I don't have limitations anymore. Because before, I'd have to worry about getting my heart rate up. Now, I'd gladly run and do everything. that I've always wanted to do. I help Daddy on the farm. I still got to take it easy. I can't lift a bunch of stuff. So I'm more of a watcher than an actual helper at this point. But I will be helping Daddy. Me and Daddy hung 3 fences last week and stuff in the pasture. And I'm just enjoying being outside and being part of work on the farm.
What are you doing with your story? I mean, obviously you're telling people, giving people information this morning, and I believe you spoke at your church maybe last month or the month before that. What do you plan to do with your story? How will you get that out to people? And what specific points will you be making when you discuss your personal story?
I intend to become a motivational speaker or just a traveling speaker, but that's a little ways down the road. Since I still got to be close to the hospital and able to go whenever they call. But my career, I'm looking to be a counselor for people that have had rough times or medical issues, because I think hearing from someone who survived a medical issue would help someone who's currently going through an issue. And so I'm looking to go back to college next semester to work on getting my master's degree in counseling so that I can talk to people and help them deal with stuff that they're going through. Because, like I said, talking to someone who's been in a tough spot and knows where you're coming from is a little more helpful than just talking to someone who doesn't know or doesn't understand.
Time right now is 8:57, wrapping up our program. And before we do, guys, I want to give a shout-out to your mom. And this is something you can only do on Small Town Radio, is put this out. Your mom's missing her dog.
Yes.
You guys want to describe her for us?
Her name is Ivory. She's a white. We really don't know what she is.
She's a Pomeranian lab mix.
Not Pomeranian.
Yeah.
But she's just a beautiful, white, sweet dog, and she's just got such a free spirit. But someone apparently has, we don't want to say the word taken, but we believe she's been taken, and we really want her back. She just took up and when we needed her the most, and she's just sweet.
And she has been helpful with Lucas coming back home as well, right?
Yes, she walks the pasture with me when I walk.
Climbs the trees.
And she gives us a good laugh when we're out in the farm.
All right, well, if anybody sees that dog in the Ranburne area, East Alabama, unless the dog's a traveler, coming out here to West Georgia or something, but if you see that dog in the East Alabama area, how can they get in touch with your mom? Just do that through Facebook, you think?
Yes.
If Facebook works.
Carrie Wysner, she's got pictures of Ivory all over Facebook, and the Southern Times Shopper has been sharing pictures of her as well.
Well, guys, it was great to have you on the program this morning, and I know we could have talked 3 hours easily, just try to condense it in a half hour and get a lot of information out there. And, of course, you guys do encourage our listeners, if they don't already know CPR, that's something that they should probably make the effort to learn, because you never know. A family member, something like that could happen to a family member. It was surprising to you guys. You were surprised when it was necessary. So you guys do encourage people to learn CPR as well.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. It was good to talk to you both, Lucas and Carrie. And we appreciate our listeners through this morning's Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Again, I'm going to, once the program's done, I'm going to post the entire show to our website at newstalk1330.com. Congratulations to the Wysner family and, of course, to Lucas. And thank you guys again for talking to